Donald Trump Jr. has testified again in the civil fraud trial against the Trump Organization. This time, though, he is testifying for Trump's cause. The prosecutors have already put on their case, which ended last week. You might remember that Donald Trump Jr. testified then. He testified again, and this is not without its risks. Take a look at this Newsweek article, which explains. Barbara McQuade, a former U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, suggested the defense will now want to provide the narrative with their questions for Trump Jr. But the former president's eldest son, he's just a boy, remember? The president's eldest son, former president's eldest son, may risk losing credibility if his latest testimony differs too much from what he has already said under oath when answering questions. McQuade said it's going to be very difficult for Jr. to really have a lot of credibility here. His whole strategy when he previously testified was to distance himself from knowledge about these things. It was all about accountants. I don't pay attention. Sure, maybe I signed off. But remember, he gave that press conference at the end of his testimony where he said, I relied on accountants to do accounting. It's going to be difficult for him, I think now, to say anything with authority other than to repeat what's already said. So the idea here is, if indeed the narrative when the questioning was difficult was, I don't know, I wasn't involved, accountants did it. If now Trump's lawyers try to spin a convenient line of questioning wherein he asserts a whole bunch of knowledge, if that knowledge he asserts, while it may be convenient to the case, comes at a direct conflict with what it previously said about I wasn't involved in any of that stuff, this could be a real problem, particularly when you're talking about a bench trial, not with a jury. Now, we have some video and different elements from Jr.'s testimony that I want to show you. Here are protesters shouting crime family at Don Jr. as he arrived yesterday for his testimony. All right, so there is Don Jr. smiling as the hecklers shout crime family. Here is Don Jr. speaking. I believe this was before the testimony. When exactly was this? This was, I believe, before. Yeah.
Why, we are apparently already guilty of fraud, having never even heard from us at that point before ever hearing from these witnesses. So that's why, you know, it's a little bit ridiculous, right? You can't even make your case before, oh, wait, this is it. Well, the document that you're relying on this, I'm not supposed to rely on a big five accounting firm, like one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. I can pay them millions of dollars. I rely on them to do accounting, but I'm supposed to know more than them. By this logic, insurance companies are going to start suing patients for listening to their doctors. Right? Do you understand? Like, am I supposed to know more? Oh, Don Jr. doesn't know anything about it. I'm not an accountant. I'm a business guy. I went through each and every one of our deals. Had they asked me those questions, I could have very easily answered them, but I can't answer questions.
I am an expert, but they didn't ask me. We know, you know about everything.
About a document that literally everyone acknowledges I had nothing to do with. I rely on the accountants to do that.
Okay, so Don Jr., it's never totally clear what point he's even trying to make. It's whatever's convenient at the time. Here are some images of Don Jr. and Letitia James in court yesterday morning. Donald Trump I don't even really know how to describe what he's doing. Kind of smirking, I guess, a little bit towards the camera. Attorney General Letitia James also in court, but not at the lawyer's table, rather sitting behind. Many people, including Donald Trump himself, very triggered by what he described as a smirk on her face. She is sort of smirking, I will admit. She did sort of seem to be smirking there. And then lastly, here is Don Jr. after his testimony or during a break in testimony saying that if his father ends up banned from doing business in New York City as a result of this trial, New Yorkers will be begging Trump to come back. This is sort of like a tears in my eyes story.
The great city will realize what's going on. They'll realize the destructive practices here. They'll realize just how insane that is. And they'll be begging for guys like Donald Trump to come back to New York City to reshape the skyline as he's done for decades. The great city will
There you go. If they indeed say to Donald Trump, sir, you're not allowed to do business in New York anymore, people will just be lining up crying, saying, please, sir, we need you doing business in New York, as if one guy is really going to totally reshape the city in the way that these MAGA Trumpists want to see happen. So we'll see what the entire defense looks like this week. This is indeed a bench trial. It is not about convincing a jury. It's about convincing a judge. And the normal lawyering, I don't even necessarily want to call them tricks because that's demeaning in maybe a way that it shouldn't be. But a lot of the typical mechanisms that you might use to influence a jury, at least in theory, would not work when it comes to a judge. So let's see what sort of defense they put up. We'll see what happens today, tomorrow, have a kind of wrap up on it on Thursday. And then we'll see ultimately what the judge decides. This one is coming to an end, and it is serving as a sort of preview of the sort of environment that we are going to see when Trump's criminal trials finally start. It is going to be nuts, that's for sure. I love my Helix sleep mattress. I've been sleeping on Helix mattresses for years now, which is why I asked them to be a sponsor. You actually take their famous sleep quiz, takes just a few minutes to answer questions about your sleep preferences, body type, sleep position, whether you have back pain, and Helix will match you with a mattress that's perfect for you, which is really unique and helpful because a lot of people don't know where to start when buying a mattress. I certainly didn't. Their newest collection of mattresses, called Helix Elite, come with a built-in Glaciotex layer to keep you cool at night, an extra layer of foam for pressure relief, and thousands of extra microcoils for best-in-class support and durability. All of their mattresses ship right to your door, totally free. They come with a 10 or 15-year warranty, and you get 100 nights to decide if you like it. My audience gets a huge 25% discount on all purchases plus 2 free pillows. Go to helixsleep.com/Pacman and enter the code HelixPartner25 at checkout. The link is down below.